Consider it done. Yep. Yes. Yep. Okay. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Huh? Leave it to me.
Was geht da vor? Irgendjemand führt mich an der Nase herum.
On it.
Irgendjemand führt mich an der Nase.
Understood. Consider it done. Okay. Okay. Consider it done. Consider it done.
Diese Fußspuren sollte ich untersuchen.
Quiet and efficient.
Da scheint etwas zu sein.
On it.
Der Kamerad war eben doch noch hier. Sichert die Umgebung. Ich gehe besser mal nachsehen. Ich schaue mal nach ihm. Da hat sich doch was bewegt. Ich schaue mal nach ihm. Wahrscheinlich ist er bald wieder da.
Consider it done. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Yes. Consider it done. On it. Okay. Consider it done. On it. Yep. Uh-huh. Consider it done. Let's go. Took me ages to learn. I'll show them. Consider it done. Leave it to me. Consider it done. Consider it done. Consider it done. Sharp blade makes for a quick kill.
Let's go. I'll be right over.
I'm your man. Yep. Leave it to me. Uh-huh. On it. Okay.
Let's go. Uh-huh.
I'll show them.
Glad to assist. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes. Uh-huh. I'll be right over.
I'll show them.
Ready for duty?
Yep.
Yes.
Huh?
Keine Bewegung! Alarm!
Affirmative.
Huh?
Glad to assist. I'll be right over. Okay? Understood.
I'm your man.
Glad to assist.
I'll show them.
Okay? Affirmative. Understood. I'll be right over. Understood. Okay? Yep. Understood.
I'll show them. Just as... Huh? Okay. Uh-huh.
Ready for duty?
I'll show them. Yep.
Let's go. Understood.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Huh?
Ready for duty?
I'll show them.
Glad to assist. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. I'll be right over.
Ich sehe Spuren.
Leave it to me. I'll show them.
Glad to assist. Yes.
Okay.
Glad to assist. Okay. Understood.
Huh? Consider it done. Yes. Consider it done. Okay. Makes for a good distraction. Okay. On it. Consider it done. Huh? Huh? Huh?
Since I first decided to upgrade the Winnebago Mini, there was something that I knew I was going to have to address, and that is when the weather is very warm, you don't want to be parking out in the bright sun just to make it hotter than it already is in here. But when you do that, it causes a problem. When you're in the shade, you don't get the solar that you would sitting out in a field. So it makes the panels on the roof very inefficient. So the way to combat this is to get you a solar panel that is portable and a good cable, and run that out into the sunshine while leaving the motorhome parked in the shade. Simple.
Leave it to me.
But you've got to address that situation. A company reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in reviewing our 40-volt, 220 watt portable solar panel?
I'm your man.
I said, heck yeah. The wheels got to turning. This is a perfect size for the Mini. All right, I'm not even going to try to pronounce their name.
I'll show them.
M-H-P-O-W-O-S. Hey, if anybody knows how to pronounce that, reach out in the comments, will you? All right, this thing is nice. Let me show you all of its features, because it does differ from some of the panels that are out there on the market. Okay, so what is the difference that I alluded to? What that difference is that this does not have a small built-in solar controller. And what that allows is for you to pull the maximum amount of amperage or wattage out of this. This basically is just like a big rigid panel, except that it folds up, makes it very easy to store, to open up, to move around. It's lightweight. You know, it makes portable the key part of this without giving up any of the power that you have to in a lot of those other panels. Now, that being said, you can see, just like the big rigid panels, it comes with just solar connectors. It does come with this cable with multiple ends, I guess for you to use with like a solar power bank or that type of thing. But for my application here in the Mini, what I'm going to do is just plug my cable into these. And what I'll do is make an adapter that goes from the solars to the SAE plug that I have here on the motorhome. Now, my motorhome has a specifically purchased controller for this panel. This is a 40 volt, 220 watt panel. So my controller had to be able to accept that much power. That is one of the cons, if you call it a con, to using this. You can't just throw it out there and plug it in. There's nothing to control the solar. It wouldn't be any different than plugging it into a big rigid panel without a controller. This thing, like I said, lightweight and nice. So the way to open it is you just
Makes for a good distraction.
pop it out like that. Now, it does have, got it upside down. It does have these kickstands so that when you open it up,
I'll show them.
you can adjust it to get the maximum amount. You can see it's got one on each of the panels. That way you can get the maximum angle to the sun. This is high quality, and it will flat put out some wattage.
Okay.
So, I was tickled to death when they sent it to me. I'm going to be using it with the motorhome. There will be a lot of opportunity to see how well it actually works in real life situations. So, keep an eye on it. Hey, listen,
I'm your man.
once again, I can't pronounce it, but it is
Ich gehe mal dorthin.
MHPOWOS, and it is 40 volts, 220 watts of portable solar power. Check it out, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope these reviews help, and I hope to see you on the
scratches and dents, and also just to give them a little bit more sheen. Now the next material that we're going to work with are these topographical maps that I'm going to stain, and then I'm going to spray glue and decoupage them into the inside of these cabinets. I'm also going to use them on the outside where I'm not using any other wood material or anything. I polyurethane those down as well. And then inside of this box where I've got the water going to be stored, I'm using a bed liner on the bottom of that area as well as the bottom of the entire cabinet unit where it'll be resting on my wood floor so it doesn't slide around. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some liquid nails. We're going to attach that screen piece to that side, more liquid nails, and then we're going to attach the wood laminate that we have stained and urethaned onto that. Once it all gets in there, it's starting to look pretty sharp. It's starting to look like a finished cabinet. You would never even notice that it was made out of foam. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue down that sink basin. So first we put some liquid nails underneath the sink piece, the original sink piece, and then liquid nails all the way around. Just smearing that around so that I get a little bit more coverage. Then I'm putting weight down on it and I'm taping each corner down so that it stays in place and doesn't move around or peel up from the counter. Once that's dried and in place, we got everything on. So we got the maps on this side. I left the back side so far, haven't done anything to that yet. And then wood, the vent there, the diamond plated aluminum all the way around, the truck bed liner and the water box, maps inside of that. So now that you've seen how this is built, let's talk about how light it is and how strong it is.
Okay.
This is weighing in at just under 15 pounds. But how strong is it? Let's get this thing out of here and then see how it performs if I stand on it.
They never come up.
Alright, so we got it out. I'm going to stand on it. I weigh about 155, so let's give it a shot. Seems pretty sturdy. See, they're pretty strong. So there you have it. Cabinet's out of foam. I only have 9 more pieces to build for this thing, so hopefully I'll make some videos of those as well. If you guys want to know anything specific about the way that I built this one, leave it in the comments below. Throw me a like or a subscribe if you want to see more of these. I didn't really plan on making this one. I just found a few improvements that I could make to some of the stuff that was already out there, and I wanted to share it with everyone since I got so much information from other people's videos. Thanks you guys for those. We'll see you next time.
Leave it to me. Let's go.
Hey guys, Rubber Tramp Renegade here. Today I'm out in the garage. I've got the body of the camper off of the trailer. Trailer's sitting out there in the driveway. I've put a couple coats of paint on it, and it's looking good. But what I'm going to get started on here is what they call poor man's fiberglass.
I'll show them.
Now, I have used real fiberglass
Okay.
before with the resin and the fiberglass
Leave
cloth,
it to me.
but this is a little cheaper, and I guess that's why it gets the same poor man's fiberglass. But basically what it is type on 2 wood glue, canvas drop cloth that you use for painting. I picked these up at Home Depot. They're seamless. They don't have any seams in them except for the edges, which I am going to cut off. But I'm probably going to start here on the bottom. That way I can get the bottom done
Consider
and
it
get it
done.
flipped back over, and not have to flip this thing over too many times. But basically what you do, you put the glue down onto the
On
wood,
it.
and you coat the wood with glue. You
Leave
put
it
the
to
cloth
me.
down, press it down, and then put another coat of glue on
Yep.
top, and it creates a waterproof barrier. I'm going to start here on the bottom, and this is going to come up over the edge. And you can see I've got a little lip here where that goes on the frame, but I'm going to come up here
On it.
to this corner with the bottom section, and then my outside section on my sides will end up curving over. Now I did go ahead and put this in the dryer, try to get some of these wrinkles out. We'll test it and see
Consider
how
it
it
done.
works. If
Yes.
the wrinkles don't come out on the bottom side,
Uh-huh.
when I get ready to do the sides and the top, I probably will actually take an iron to the cloth
Ready for
and get
duty?
those wrinkles out. But for the bottom, I'm not too worried about it since you're not going to see it. But I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Yep. I'm your man.
Alright guys, so I've got that trimmed up basically where it's going to fit. I'm going to probably put something heavy on one side to keep it in place, and then flip it up,
Leave it to me.
and then glue down one side, and then stick it down. Once that's set up, I'll start on the other side. But I want to say, if you're going to do this, get a good pair of scissors, because these drop cloths, they fray a little bit when you cut them, but using a sharp pair of scissors really helps stop the fraying as much as possible. But I picked
Yes.
these up at Harbor Freight. Now I know that's usually
Yep.
cheap stuff, but this this set of scissors here was about $10, but they've been worth it so far.
On it.
But I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up and start gluing it down and see how it turns out. Alright, well, I've got some wood here to hold this up, and I decided to flip it up this way because this is going to be the hardest part right in here in these corners.
I'll show them.
I've got a few things here. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use because I've never done this before.
On
I've
it.
seen people
Yes,
use
just a
rollers,
scratch.
brushes. I've got a good brush. This brush has been around for a while. It's kind of stiff. I think it'll work best. A stiffer brush will work with a process like this. Then I've also got this Bondo spreader that you would use for Bondo or fiberglass. But I'm going to start with this, see how it
Okay.
works. I'm going to spread the glue out with it, put the cloth down, and spread that down.
Consider it done.
And I may have to roll it out. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll just see how it goes.
Was? Ich geh mal nachsehen.
Sharp blade makes for a quick kill. Ah! On it. Huh? Leave it to me.
Let's go.
I'm your man.
Ready for duty?
Alright guys, well I ended up using a mixture of the spreader, the Bondo
Understood.
spreader, the paintbrush, and the roller. I started out with the spreader, spread the glue, I put the cloth down and I spread it down with the spreader. on the edges here, I had to use the brush to get in there. The spreader
Makes
really
for a
wasn't
good
working.
distraction.
So I did that, and then I used the roller
Right
afterwards,
on
after
the
I put glue on top, and then used the roller to spread
No
it
way
out.
for
So
them to find me.
that turned out pretty good.
Glad to
I came
assist.
up a little shy right here, but my side piece I may be able to wrap that over just a little bit on each side to kind of overlap the seams. Right here, probably the same thing. I'll probably have to wrap it around that way, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out so far. I'm gonna peel that back and start going that way and try to get the bottom done
Yes.
today.
Yes.
I've turned the camper over on its side and went ahead and got one side. I showed you the bottom that I did right here, and then right here is kind of where I overlap. That's running a little bit right now. I'll wipe that down, but it turned out pretty good. I'm gonna overlap everything. You can see I've cut it. I've just cut it over just a little bit,
Hands out of the jaws.
and the top of that will just go right up to the edge. So there won't be any seams that are not sealed. Everything should be waterproof, but that's poor man's fiberglass for you. I did find that the little Bondo knife here, I did find this works better on the second coat. Once you put the tight bond on the top
Consider it done.
and spread it out with this, it uses less
Let's go.
of the glue,
Yep.
and it makes a
only way
smoother
this thing
finish.
should be
So
used.
I'm glad I figured that out on the sides. The bottom's a little rougher than the sides, but you won't see it anyways. I've got the glue turned upside down right here, draining out because I did go through one complete jug. So I'm gonna try to save as much as I can off of that one and stretch it out. I really only have the top, the back, and one more side. I think I'll have enough glue. If not, I do have another little bottle up there. So that's poor man's fiberglass. I'll show you when it's all done, when I get ready to paint this thing.
Understood.
Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.
Makes for a good distraction. They never cop up.
Glad to assist. Understood. Understood. I whistle and they come running. Took me ages to learn.
Huh? Okay. Yep. Okay.
Glad to assist.
Da versteckt sich doch jemand.
I'm your man. Leave it to me.
War das ein Vogel? Oder ist da jemand?
Glad to assist.
I'm your man. Leave it to me. Okay. On it.
Glad to assist. Understood.
I'm your man. Yes.
Okay.
I'm your man. Yep. This'll be hard to ignore. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Ready for duty? Affirmative.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Consider it done.
Okay.
I admit, not the most common tool. I'll be right over. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yes. Took me ages to learn.
I'm your man.
Affirmative. Understood. I'll be right over.
I'll show them.
Affirmative. Yep. I'll be right over.
I'll show them.
Glad to assist.
I'll show them.
Let's go.
Hä? Dem muss
Mein
ich
Mann.
nachgehen.
Consider it done.
Da hat sich doch etwas bewegt.
Ready for duty? Under fire! I admit, not the most common tool.
Hä?
I'll show them.
Dem muss ich nachgehen.
Don't get in my way. Okay. Okay.
Glad to assist.
Huh?
Glad to assist. I whistle and they come running.
Huh?
Consider it done.
On it.
Consider it done.
Uh-huh. I'll show them. Yes. Yes.
I whistle and they come running. I'll be right
Ich gehe
over.
mal nachsehen. Hier hat sich doch was bewegt. Durchsucht die Umgebung.
Huh? Leave it to me. On it. Yep. 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 On it. Uh-huh. Yes. Yep. Yep. Uh-huh. They never cop on.
Ready for duty? I admit, not the most common tool. Affirmative. Afraid that's not possible. Negative. Keep the hands out of the jaws. Can't do. Yep. Uh-huh. Okay.
Ich schaue mir das an.
Part
Da
of
versteckt
every
sich doch
soldier's
jemand.
equipment. I need help.
Huh? Leave it to me. Consider it done. Okay. On it. On it. Uh-huh. Okay. What? Consider it done. Leave it to me. On it. Consider it done. On it. This'll be hard to ignore. Yep. Impossible. On it. Okay. They never cover. Leave it to me.
Seltsam.
On
Das
it.
schaue ich mir an.
On it. Yep. Leave it to me. Yes. They never cover. Okay.
Ready for duty? Okay. Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. I whistle and they come running.
Huh?
Das muss ich mir anschauen.
Glad to assist.
Da versteckt sich doch jemand.
Huh?
Jetzt höre ich nichts mehr.
Let's go. Yes. Yes. Understood. Yes.
I'm your man.
Ready for duty? I'll be right over.
Hä?
Okay? Uh-huh.
I'll show them.
Hier gibt es keine Fußabdrücke mehr.
Leave it to me. Don't get in my way.
Ready for duty?
I'm your man. Uh-huh.
Yes. Yep.
Ready for duty?
I'll show them. This'll be hard to ignore.
Yep, let's go.
Huh?
Ready for duty?
I whistle and they come running.
I'll show them. Uh-huh. On it. Consider it done.
Glad to assist.
Understood. Can't do.
Huh?
Let's go.
Affirmative.
I'm your man.
Ready for duty?
Okay.
I'll show them.
Glad to assist.
I'm your man.
Ready for duty?
I'll show them. Yep.
Glad to assist.
Oh, the horse.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
I'm your man.
Yep. Took me ages to learn.
Huh?
Glad to assist.
Yep.
I was always fascinated with this stuff when I. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Joe Buskins. This is our family's boat shop. Today we got a very interesting episode, kind of a follow-up episode to one of our previous ones where we poured some
Ready for duty?
I'm your man. Just a...
I whistle and they come running.
I'm your man.
Glad to assist.
Huh?
Let's go.
You Spuren müssen alt sein.
I'll be right over. Even my backpack has limits.
Aha. Going. Nope. Yes. Yes. Yep. I'm your man. Consider it done. This'll be hard to ignore. Leave it to me. Yep. Nope. Yes. Huh? Okay. Yep.
Glad to assist. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'll show them. Huh? Yes.
Ready for duty?
Huh?
I'll be right over. Okay?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yes. Huh? Huh? Uh-huh.
Glad to assist.
I'll show them. Yep.
Glad to assist.
I'm your man.
Ready for duty? Even my backpack has limits.
I'm your man. Yep. Going? Yes. I'll show them. Okay.
Ready for duty? Affirmative.
Yes. I'm your man. On it. On it. Yep. This'll be hard to ignore.
Was? Ich muss dort mal nachsehen.
On it. On it. Yep. Yes.
I'll be right over.
They never copper.
Was? Ich muss dort mal nachsehen.
Sharp blade makes for a quick kill.
Huh?
Leave it to me. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. This'll be hard to ignore. Yep. Okay. Leave it to me. Okay. Consider it done. Yes. Yes.
Die Fußspuren
Oh,
sollte
nee.
ich mir anschauen.
Aha. Aha. Consider it done. Uh-huh. Leave it to me. Yes. Uh-huh.
Was? Jetzt ist es weg.
Let's go. Yep. Uh-huh.
I'll show them.
Two-part, an A and B part polyurethane foam. Matter of fact, you can see I've got some of the components right there.
Yes.
And we poured up some test batches in some clear containers to simulate like if you guys were doing flotation foam. But I had a number of questions kind of pertaining to that video about can you fiberglass over that kind of foam, and then compatibility with your different resin types and different foam types. So what I've done today, I've kind of compiled a test of some frequently used insulation type foams, and then some frequently used structural type foams, and then the three kinds of resin we use most frequently, which would be a polyester, a vinyl ester, and epoxy. So this episode is going to be jam-packed with information. I'm going to try to roll right through it pretty rapidly. And what I thought I would do, if you missed the previous episode, or maybe if you didn't watch the whole episode, the pouring of the A and B, the expandable polyurethane foam, pretty interesting stuff. Now, it typically comes in a gallon container in an A and B format. It's a closed cell polyurethane, which modern polyurethane foams are going to be better than a lot of your older ones. And they come in different densities. Now, this is just a 2-pound density, which means it's in its lightest form. And I thought I would, again, show the reaction of what happens. And then we are going to take some of the foam that we mixed last week, and I'm going to fiberglass over it. Now, if you've never mixed this stuff before, again, about a 30-second mix. I may do a little less than that just for the sake of time. And we're going to set this off to the side, and you guys can get to see the expansion rate. And then I'm going to actually apply some different resins to some of our foam samples, and some of the foams actually dissolve with certain resins. So it's going to be important. You're going to want to be sure you've got compatibility with the materials you're working with. So we got kind of a nice golden color there.
Yep.
And I'm gonna set this over here because there is gonna be a reaction to this stuff in a couple minutes. And we're gonna pan back to that because it's kind of neat to see. I was always fascinated with this stuff when I was a boy and my dad was here in the boat shop and he would be using it. It's just neat stuff. So while that is working over there, we're gonna start talking about the different resins that we have. Now, as far as compatibility, your epoxy resin is going to be generally considered the most compatible. So what I did for just ease of understanding is I used some of the common foams that we use, and I'm gonna put a sample of poly, vinyl, and epoxy respectively on each one. Now, the foam that we have here was actually the foam that we used when we were building the pattern for our hardtop plug over there, and it is a 2-pound density. We call it a poly iso. A lot of the local guys call it a fish box foam or a ice box foam. It's just basically an insulation, and it is quite delicate. It's not a real strong material, but you can use it and it's just fine for fish boxes, and generally the compatibility is very high. Now this is some of your standard lightweight EPS type foam that you can get at your Lowe's or Home Depot, and it is more volatile, so it's going to be not compatible with everything. And then you got your XPS foam, which I get a lot of questions about it as well. We source this from our local Home Depot. So while we were talking about this, y'all come over and check it out. You can see we've got a pretty cool chemical reaction going on there.
Leave it to me.
And while that is happening, I always tell folks, like, you don't want to mess with it when it's in its expansion rate. If you touch it, it'll kind of knock down the foam there and maybe inhibit some of its expansion. So we're going to let this thing continue to kind of grow as we talk. But let's come over here, and what I thought we would do first is just take some vinyl. We got some vinyl ester resin from our friends there at Fiberglass Warehouse. You guys know I really like their vinyl esters. If you need to order some, be sure to use your Fish Bump TV discount code to get a price break. And we're gonna add a little bit of MEKP, or methyl ethyl ketone peroxide.
Consider it done.
And we're gonna activate it. Now this isn't absolutely necessary for this test, but some of you folks out there that just want to be sure that all the chemicals are present and compatibility is accurately shown, I thought we would go ahead and activate it. So I'm going to pour a little bit of vinyl in its respective spot.
Yep.
Vinyl and vinyl. There we go.
Let's go.
And I will set that right off to the side. Now we will go ahead with some of our polyester. Now this is an ISO tooling, which is a high caliber polyester resin. Don't let the tooling part throw you off. That is generally what I recommend for any kind of fiberglassing you're going to do if you're going to be using polyester resin. And that's what we used when we did our fiberglassing over plywood video. Same deal.
Ready for duty?
Little bit of your MEKP.
Took me ages to learn.
And a lot of times your resins will change colors as you mix your MEKP in. And I'm going to try to do this rapidly just for the sake of time. Our videos tend to be a little on the long side, but full of information throughout. So I encourage you folks to watch all the way through. There's our poly.
Let's go.
A little more there. And
yep. Okay.
Try not to make too much of a mess. Now, we're gonna move right on to our epoxy sample, and I want to use a frequently used West Systems Very popular. One pump to one pump. And we will activate this, but look at what is going on already with the vinyl ester and the poly on your EPS foam. Getting a pretty volatile reaction there. That should answer some questions about compatibility. I know this is something that may not pertain to everybody out there, but there are a lot of folks wanting to use different types of foam that are readily available at like your local Lowe's or Home Depot. These two specifically are, although I had a lot of questions about the polyiso foam that we source from our local supply house, our fiberglass supply house. So let's go with a little bit of epoxy.
Das muss ich mir anschauen.
All right. So there we go. So we've got our samples of materials. Now I can tell you folks that while those are kind of doing their thing, when we were building our 29-footer there in the background, we used the Coosa board. That's actually made here in Alabama. It's a fantastic material, and we used the Blue Water 26 extensively. Now they make a 15 and a 20 and a 26. I believe they even make a 32-pound density now. But we used it for a stringers, floor, transom. I mean, it was fantastic material. And I can tell you that it's compatible with all of the resin types. You're not gonna have any problem there because it's made to be a structural foam core. Now, the Vinicel is another very, very popular. I believe this is a 5.5 pound density. And I actually have another small boat that we've built some components out of using the vinyl ester resin and a 1708 cloth with the Vinicel, and you can get a very strong, very lightweight foam core. And all of these resins are gonna be compatible with it as well. And then more recently, we used some 3/4 inch thick. This is about a 6.5 pound density Airex foam core, and that is the core that we used when we were building our custom hardtop that's going to be going on our 29-footer. And these I consider, you know, these are definitely boat builder grade or even RV, or I would imagine if you've got some other experimental craft or something you're going to work with, all of these are made to be worked with on a structural aspect. Whereas if you're going to use any of these are going to be lighter weight. Matter of fact, what a number of folks are doing is they're sandwiching some of these foam cores, especially like this XPS. I've seen there's some folks that are actually like epoxying a wood veneer on one side, or they may even use a layer of like something like Vinicel, and they would epoxy it on the surface and sandwich this lighter weight foam core in between. Now I can tell you folks, I'm a little bit cautious about that, especially for boat application. There's so much movement, vibration, flexing. I tend to not really use any of this stuff for structural, at least on my end. That's not to say it can't be done in certain applications, but I would always recommend testing it and experimenting, maybe even on your own side, and do your research in depth before you build anything structural out of these materials. Now, I did have a number of questions about actually fiberglassing over this kind of foam, and last week we made some sample pieces here where we poured it in a disposable cup. And yes, you can readily fiberglass over it, and I'm going to see if I can't make some use out of this little bit of vinyl ester resin. You can just dab that on, and I can tell you that for a fact that the polyurethane foam that we buy from Fiberglass Warehouse is going to be compatible with your vinyl esters, your polyesters,
Glad to assist. Can't do.
and your epoxy as well. Give this a minute and that'll conform it. You folks out there, you may come up with all kind of ideas. Here in a second, I'm going to show some shaping of this polyurethane foam with a grinder, and who knows what you could possibly make out of this stuff at home. We've used this 2-part foam quite a bit like a sprayed foam, and you can use it as an insulation on walls, and you can use a grinder to shape it. You make some pretty neat stuff. You could make some props. You could make replicas of things. You can see that that's one of the advantages of something with styrene in it. You get this mat, or the CSM will lay down and conform very, very nicely. All right, so we've also got a little bit of the polyester.
Glad to assist.
You know, folks may be curious to see if the polyester resin will behave as nicely as the vinyl ester resin does. That way we're making use of some of our materials here too, and it's not just cooking off and going to waste. Trying to give you folks at home, you DIYers out there, maybe save you some time and some experimentation. Answer as many questions for you as possible. Who knows what you folks might want to create. Hopefully can inspire some people at home. Now, I noticed this piece is kind of walking off to one side. Sometimes you can reposition your mat. If you don't let it sit too long, you can oftentimes pick it up and move it around.
Leave it to me.
And we will come back in a second and see what our sample materials are looking like. All right. See, that's pretty neat. And you put a fiberglass shell on this stuff, it's actually pretty darn tough. Pretty neat. Now we can see here, if we jump back over, you can see our epoxy is pretty much zero effect on the XPS foam, whereas your vinyl and your poly are absolutely eating through. And your EPS foam, it's even a more volatile reaction, whereas this polyiso foam, not really reacting to any of those. And this comes from a boat supply facility that it's made more so than these two for like marine applications. And I can tell you that your Divinycell, your Cusa, and your Airex are all gonna have good compatibility with all the major resin types. So, there's a lot of information. Now, I've got our piece from last week, which y'all may find this very interesting. We took some little clear containers and simulated a pour. If this were the floor of a boat and you drilled some 2-inch holes in there and poured the foam through, and wanted to show how you got some really cool expansion. But I thought what would be neat to demonstrate would be like, for example, if this were one stringer and this were another stringer and you wanted to trim that off, believe it or not, you can use something as simple as a handsaw. Now, I had already started trimming on this, and you can use the container itself as a guide. Sounds like Rice Krispies.
On it.
Yeah, very cool. Now, what I would typically do, I may have trimmed that a little bit on the low side. Usually I would trim it a little on the high side, and then use something like a fairing block, and you could actually come in and shape and shave this foam as needed. And again, to give you folks at home some inspiration, let's see if this will release. There we go. So you can see how the foam just released very easily from this little storage bin that I got at our local Lowe's, and you could create blocks of foam that you could shape and contour. Matter of fact, if you were to use like a little high-speed grinder like this, now, if you were at home, you would want some air movement and some eye protection and facial protection, because this stuff, again, in your face or in your eyes, not great. But you can see how readily you can shape that material with a grinder, especially a little high-speed grinder. Now, it doesn't have to be a high-speed. You could use a little small DeWalt orbital or even a hand block, something to shape that up. So that was a lot of information there, and I hope that was super useful. As always, if you did enjoy these videos and want to see more of them, and you haven't already subscribed, please remember to do so. Subscribe, like, share, comment. If there are other boating communities and forums out there that might enjoy this kind of information. And I do appreciate suggestions for content. So if there's ideas you have or would like to see us do, that would be awesome. And stay tuned, we will be starting work on our 21-foot project boat quite soon. So it's Captain Joe here, Island Marine Charters, Fish Bump TV on YouTube. My son Logan as my amazing cameraman working hard behind the scenes. And we will catch you folks in the next episode.
Ready for duty? Affirmative.
I'm your man.
Let's go. The only way whistling should be used.
I'm your man.
Wieder an die Arbeit.
Afraid that's not possible.
I'll show them. Yes.
Ready for duty?
Huh?
Dann wollen wir mal weitermachen.
Leave it to me.
Ready for duty?
Yes.
Was? Da war doch nicht.
Makes for a good distraction. Leave it to me. Leave it to me. Yep. Yep. Moving. Uh-huh.
Glad to assist.
Yep. Right. Taking aim. One shot is all I need. Moving.
Let's go.
Yes. One shot is all I need.
Ready for duty?
Uh-huh.
Alle Mann auf die Posten! Das ist keine Übung!
Even an empty shell can be deadly.
Let's go.
Yes.
Glad to assist. Was? Okay.
Dann wollen wir mal weitermachen.
Uh-huh. Going. Taking aim.
Ready for duty?
Yes.
Ready for duty?
Was? Wieder an die Arbeit.
One shot is all I need. Going. Uh-huh.
Let's go.
Uh-huh. 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 Going. One shot is all I need. No. No. Okay. Going. Okay. Taking aim. Taking aim.
Yup. Okay.
Glad to assist.
I'm your man. Uh-huh. Leave it to me. Makes for a good distraction. On it. Uh-huh. Moving. Huh? Uh-huh. Yes.
Ready for duty?
Yep. I'm your man.
Glad to assist.
Aha.
Was? Dann wollen wir mal weitermachen.
I'm your man.
Glad to assist.
Yes. Yes. I'll show them. Leave it to me. On it. Consider it done. Yes. Yes. Huh? I needed that. Leave it to me. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. On it. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. Yes. This'll be hard to ignore. On it. Uh-huh. Consider it done. On it. Leave it to me. On it. Okay. Yep. Uh-huh. Consider it done. Okay. Leave it to me. Consider it done. Yes. Makes for a good distraction. On it. Yep. Yes. Consider it done. On it. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Leave it to me. Leave it to me. This'll be hard to ignore. Makes for a good distraction. Consider it done. Makes for a good distraction. Leave it to me. They never cop on. Huh? On it. Consider it done. Okay. Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Consider it done. Like to see you try. Wish I could. Okay. Leave it to me. Okay. Makes for a good distraction. Consider it done. Okay.
Verdächtig. Ich gehe mal dort.
Impossible. On it. Uh-huh. This'll be hard to ignore. Consider it done.
Verdächtig. Ich gehe mal dorthin. Seltsam. Das schaue ich mir an.
Makes for a good distraction. Leave it to me. Yes. Yep. Yes.
Verdächtig. Ich gehe mal dorthin.
Leave it to me. On it. On it. Okay. Quiet and efficient. Leave it to me. Consider it done. Makes for a good distraction. On it. On it. Consider it done. On it. Yes. Leave it to me. Okay. Leave it to me. Yes. Quiet and efficient. Leave it to me. Consider it done.